On Offering Sunday or Offering Week, we look back over the scriptures that we've studied for the month. We look at the songs that we have been singing and hopefully putting into practice as we grow as disciples, growing in the image of Christ. And we then ask the question, how do we do the word that we've heard this month? And so it's time for the field trip. So here's the field trip that we're going to be undertaking this month based on all the scriptures and things that we learn. What I want you to do is I want you to think about all of the people for whom you performed a work of mercy in Jesus' name as part of the discipleship training over the past year. Okay? Take a moment now, even as we're talking, to do that. Think through all of the people that you performed a work of mercy on in Jesus' name earlier this year. So think back through when we did doing good and when we did sharing your bread. Who were the people that you were with? When you opened your home, who was that? And when you visited, who did you visit? So think each, as you proclaim the gospel, who were the names of the people that the Lord put on your heart? Think about those people that you prayed for. Okay? You have those people in mind? So, what I want you to do is to prayerfully consider now what it was that we talked about this month, that ransoming the captive is about moving from works of mercy as a one-time thing that we do to the start of something eternal, something permanent, regular ongoing involvement we have in the person's life. So that whole life love that Christ calls for, that's what we mean to ransom captives. It means that we don't just do a work of mercy here and a work of mercy there and go on to the next one. It means that each of those works of mercy were intended to start a long-term process. And in our field trip, we're going to ask the question, did that happen for you? And what I want you to do is pray to God that He transforms your heart to be able to go the distance with one of those people that you began to work with. It's kind of overwhelming if you think about going back to everybody. So I want you to pray. Don't just choose one. Pray. Pray that God will show you which person that you performed a work of mercy on that He wants you to go back to. And pray that He transforms your heart toward that person so that you are loving that person with God's own love for the rest of your days and their days, should Christ permit. Understand? Then, I don't want you to just go do it. What I want you to do is share with the group who it is that you feel like the Lord put on your heart. It's important to check. This is where sometimes your emotions will lead you one way. And in the group will say, that's not a good person for you to be working with at this point. Right? So share with the group about who the person is that God has put on your heart, and then work with the group to lay out a wise plan for moving forward. Don't just get an idea and go out and do it. Remember, we talked about how you think about God's plan for your salvation and His performing works of mercy on you as an eternal plan. So you need to take longer than a few minutes, and you need to take the counsel of other believers in doing that. And remember, the scripture commends mission work to be done in twos. It wasn't Peter that God used to heal the man at the temple gate. It was Peter and John. They were together. Peter may have been the one to say the words and pronounce that work of mercy of healing, but he was there with John. And you need to be engaging with other people as a pair, not just as an individual. If you think all the way through that story, it's not that Peter and John were together and then they split up, because Peter and John healed the man together. Peter and John went to prison. Peter and John both got beaten for it. Peter and John rejoiced with the church together. So don't be a lone ranger in this process. Share with the church, get their counsel, and then plan about how you can do this with another believer in the church. So ask that question, what should be your and your partner's next step with this person? What should you do now? then go back, finish the job. Finish the job that you began when you performed that first work of mercy on them earlier this year. I use that phrase, finish the job, because you remember Jesus the businessman, that image that we saw in Revelation, that as he ransoms the captive, the language that's used in the book of Revelation is the language of business. And so we need to have that commitment like a business person would have towards the success of their business. You need to have that commitment as you finish the job. And as you do, regularly update the group on your progress and how God is developing that relationship. Share with the group what you're learning about what it means to lay down your life in Jesus' name to ransom captives with Him.
Hear the word, do the word. .w